cold October Saturday morning at about 4:30 a.m., second wind set sail from Annapolis down the Chesapeake Bay for some warmer climates where we could continue to sail through the winter. We had to pay attention enough to stay out of the way of some commercial traffic, but as the sun rose, the day warmed up, and with calm winds, there was not much to do but relax and let the autopilot take us due south. Mike set out a fishing rod, and after a good while, something hit it. Bobby jumped on and reeled in what turned out to be a small skate that snagged the hook in one of his winged fins. Mike took out the hook and set him on his way, seemingly unharmed. We got beat up a bit by some big waves and some wind that was right in our face as we approached the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel in Norfolk in the early morning. As the sun came up, we motored past the huge Navy ships and dropped off Butch at the Norfolk City waterfront. Then we motored across the way to Portsmouth and picked up some fuel and headed directly into the Intercoastal Waterway. Our first day in the ICW had us going through 5 drawbridges, 1 lock, and many fixed bridges. We motored into the lock at Great Bridge, Virginia, with about a dozen other boats. One of these boats, named Onward, we saw at our dock in Annapolis just 1 week before. They closed the lock gates and dropped the water level about 3 feet. When the gates opened, we followed a parade of boats to the Great Bridge for which the town was named, then through the back country of Virginia and into North Carolina. small town named Coinjock, consisting primarily of a small marina and a restaurant, is a popular stop for the big motor cruisers that want to take a slow, easy pace down the ICW. We motored through Coinjock and found an anchorage in calm water near the banks of the North River, well out of the way of ICW traffic. After setting anchor, Mike cooked up some of his mother's barbecue, and after watching the sunset and maybe just one drink, we all turned in early, being very tired from the rough night before in the Chesapeake. Everyone slept well. For those of you who have never been on Second Wind, here's a tour of the inside. This is Bobby standing in our main salon. Our electrical panel. The main settee. Our galley. And as we walk down the port side stairs, we can look aft into Bobby's cabin. This is the port side head. And forward, we have my cabin. We walk back up the stairs and across the main salon. And down the starboard side stairs. You can look aft into our shower. And forward into Mike's cabin. and into the starboard side head, which has the boat's favorite feature, the porthole that looks out underneath the bridge deck onto the other side of the hull. The next morning, we motored across the Albemarle Sound, down the Alligator River, and through the Alligator River Swing Bridge, then into the Alligator River Pungo River Canal, which is a narrow 21-mile cut through backwoods and swampland that connect the two rivers. When we popped out into the Pungo River, we were running low on daylight and fuel, so we stopped into the Dowry Creek Marina. Because this place is in the middle of nowhere, we were able to spend the night right at the gas dock for a pretty good rate. We got out the next morning before sunrise, continued down the Pungo River, past the town of Belhaven, into the Neuse River, then into the Bay River, and into the Adams Creek Canal, where we encountered some more commercial traffic and saw some cool neighborhoods with all kinds of houses, from huge mansions to trailer parks. We saw many dolphin along the way, and we were surprised that we saw most of them in the smallest canals along the ICW. We spent the night in a marina in Morehead City, which is a small town on the North Carolina coast near the southernmost tip of the Outer Banks. Our original plan was to use our sails and go offshore from Morehead City, but the forecast was for winds out of the south, and this would have made for lousy sailing. So we stayed on the inside for one more day and continued south down the ICW towards Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina. We went through several draw and swing bridges like this one in Surf City. Mike found that he had trouble controlling the boat while standing on waiting for these bridges to open. We weren't getting any help from our starboard engine. Mike spent some time in the engine room tinkering with the transmission, but couldn't quite figure out what was wrong. So the next morning, while anchored in Mott's Channel at Wrightsville Beach, I put on my wetsuit and snorkel gear and went down under to take a look. This is what a good propeller looks like on the port side. And this is where the propeller was supposed to be on the starboard side, only it was gone. So Mike made us some chipped beef for breakfast and we took naps. When we woke up, we still didn't have a propeller, but the rainy skies had cleared and the temperature came up nicely. It would have been a perfect day to go on an offshore sail to Charleston, but instead, we called Towboat US for a tow up the Cape Fear River. The marina was just outside of downtown Wilmington in a not very pretty industrial area, but it was one of the only marinas between Georgia and Virginia that can pull a catamaran as wide as ours out of the water, so we felt lucky to be there. We left the boat here and went home for about a week and a half while we worked the phones to find a replacement propeller. We had one shipped to the boatyard where they hauled her out and put on a new prop and dropped her back in the water. Check back next time when second wind pushes further south and experiences yet more mechanical challenges.